Hello, future soapers. I'm Stephanie, and I'm going to be your host for this fun new soaping course we got for you. And today we're going to talk about soaping supplies, where to buy these supplies, why do we even make soap, what are the benefits to making your own soap, and some helpful do's and don'ts before we even get started in the soap making world. So we have a lot to cover. It's super informative, and I can't wait to go on this soaping adventure with you. So let's get started. Before we get soaping, let's talk about organizing your soaping little world. And the first thing I want to recommend to you is picking up something like parchment paper. You can put this on any desk, table, or any surface that you want, and it makes for cleaning up with your soap super easy and simple. And if you have a trash can nearby, that makes it even more easier to clean up and get rid of all that stuff you don't need. Especially when we're working with harsh chemicals like lye or borax or something else like that, you just want to make sure you get every little granule and little tiny smudge there. So that works really well when we're working with chemicals like that. Speaking of lye, we're going to need some 100% pure lye to make any type of soap. That's right, you can't have soap without lye. I know it may seem a little bit dangerous, or maybe you're a little bit worried about it, but with this course, we're going to teach you how to handle lye carefully, and you won't have anything to worry about if you do it the correct way. In case something does go wrong, I do also recommend having on hand vinegar. Vinegar is the best way to help with any type of lye burn. The first thing you want to do if you do get a lye burn is just slightly rub it down with water just to make sure you get off all the granules, and then this is going to neutralize any burning sensations and make everything calm down. So make sure you always have some vinegar on hand just in case if anything goes wrong. And of course, make sure that there's no pets, babies, or any kind of other people around when you're dealing with lye. Just you and the lye works great because then you have less people to worry about, and we don't want anything like that. And also make sure that you do pour this outside or somewhere with a lot of ventilation. I'm going to be pouring mine completely outdoors just because the fumes itself rise, and we don't want any of that stuff in our nostrils or anything like that. The next supply I want to recommend to you is just getting a little glass container. I'm using a mason jar here, and as you can see, it's labeled lye, and this stick is permanently in there. This is what I use to stir up my lye, nothing else. And so this is labeled because I want to make sure that everyone in my household and my workspace knows that this is for lye only. Do not use this for baking, drinking, or anything else. Same goes for our measuring cups. I don't have them labeled, but I do put them in a box that says soaping supplies, so everyone knows that this is just for soaping, not for baking. You do not want to mix baking supplies with soaping supplies, even if you mix them out. There's always a chance there could be some kind of harsh chemical residue in here, and we just don't want to take that chance. So make sure to buy brand new supplies when you're soaping. The reason we use distilled water is because we can't really level out the fluorine level or any other kind of cleaning water agents in our tap water, but we can totally know that with distilled water we're getting a very neutral base that works great when we're working with different kinds of chemicals, mixing them all together to make our soaps. Soaping is like chemistry, so we really got to make sure that all of our ingredients here, we know exactly what is inside of them when we mix them all together, so we know what our chemical reaction is going to be. Next up, we have our cheese grater. For some of our soaping little recipes I'm going to teach you about, we're going to use bars of soap that already exist, or we're going to transport your bars that you've made through this course into other little recipes, soap washing supplies, and things like that. And the cheese grater is a great way to grind up your soap into smaller pieces, and it works really well when we're mixing them into our other recipes. We're also going to need some kind of bowl to warm up water in. And I just have a pretty small little pan here. Nothing too special about it. I just picked it up at a thrift store, and I highly recommend doing that for some of our supplies that we're going to use for this course because you save money, and if something happens, like for example, if this one gets soap residue mixed up in it and just doesn't come out, that's okay. You didn't tarnish or ruin one of the dishes you already own. Next up, we're going to use some borax. And what is borax? Well, it's a very natural way to clean and wash your clothes, dishwasher. It's kind of just a general cleaner. And we're going to use this as a base to make other types of soap. So if you want to make some more liquid soap or around the house type soaps, I do recommend using a natural cleaning agent like borax, and there's a couple other options too. But we're going to go ahead and use this one for one of our projects. Here we have our hand stick mixer, and I've heard a lot of people say this is an optional tool, and I find it super essential. I really do recommend that you buy this. They're very cheap and easy to get. They're really great for helping stir your soap just like this, and it helps your soap recipe reach trace in a matter of minutes. It's very useful and a time saver, so I do really recommend investing in one of these. For our final project here on our soap making course, we're going to use real fresh cut fruits and herbs to make beautiful fragrant soaps, and we're gonna do that with the help of our glycerin base. I'm using an olive oil glycerin base because it's slightly see-through and also really does put back in the nutrients that other glycerins don't have. Olive oil is very soothing to your touch, and it works better than a lot of other harsher glycerins that can leave behind almost like a soapy residue. So if you are making soap for you, your friends, or your family, I do recommend picking up a glycerin soap that has a little bit more of that calming, soothing agents like an olive oil or perhaps a coconut oil-based glycerin would have. Here are a few containers that we'll need throughout the course of our little lesson plan here. I have an easy-to-use soap dispenser, super easy, and of course we're going to be putting in liquid soap into this guy. You can also reuse one that you may have around the house as well. If you don't have one, not necessary to purchase one, just repurpose and reuse and upcycle ones that you already have. So my little spray bottle here is mixed up with alcohol, and you may be wondering, why do we need alcohol? Well, this rubbing alcohol here is going to help with any bubbles we may have when we're pouring our soap. This is going to make our soaps very even and beautiful looking. So it's really just for aesthetics. You don't have to have it, but I do recommend it if you want beautiful, professional looking soaps. You may have guessed, along with our measuring cups, we're going to need some measuring spoons. And yes, these are again only for soaping. Just like of all of our other baking supplies, we're just going to repurpose them and totally devote them just to soaping. For our projects today, we might be working with a few of fragrance and oils and essential oils to make our soap smell beautiful and just very relaxing. And I've chosen to use lemon. I love the smell of lemon. You guys can use whatever type of essential oil that you may like, but these recipes are all going to be including lemon. And they're 100% organic lemon oil that I'm using because I want to make sure that I get the most fragrance and natural type scents that I can buy. I picked this up on Amazon and it was really cheap and it works awesome. I really recommend using silicone molds for your soaps if you're just a beginner. This is really easy to pop them out. As you guys can see, I already used it a little bit today, and you'll figure out what we're making in a little bit. But it was super easy. I had no tear marks or anything like that on my soap. Everything looks really even and professional. So I do really recommend picking up one of these silicone molds. If you don't want to do the silicone molds thing, that's totally fine. It's totally optional to you. There is a bunch of different ways to make soap cutters with wire and wood, and you guys are welcome to do that too. It's a little bit more effort to make your own or go buy one, but it's really up to your preference level. Last but very much not least, we have our safety supplies. For our pouring lye or any type of chemical that you feel a little bit so-so about, make sure you have on your gloves and your safety goggles and a mask. So just make sure that you guys are overly safe. For finishing our soaps, I do recommend picking up some paring knives. They're super tiny and they work great to cut off any harsh edges of your soaps, make them look really soft and professional. And of course, if there's little imperfections on the top of your soaps that you want to just get rid of, this little knife is perfect for that. Creating your own soap at home is a great way to save money and make sure that you know exactly what's going on to your body and for you and the health of your household. And in this way, you can really regulate every single chemical ingredient that goes into your soap. So anyone with sensitive skin or maybe perhaps that's acne prone, this is going to be a great alternative for you.